So she started writing poems in the ghetto. And the fact that she wrote meant, and she would show them to people, and she showed them, she worked at a resort, that a very strange place that the Germans had set up. It was supposed to be a resort for showing off Jewish culture and how ridiculous Jewish culture was. But it was run by a man called the Rabbiner, I've forgotten his last name, but they made all kind of papier-mâché dolls, portraits of Jewish life. But the Rabbiner Hershkovitz, I think his name was, or something similar, he needed someone. He didn't speak Yiddish very well. I don't remember where he was from. So he needed someone to translate into Yiddish some Hebrew prayers. And somehow he heard about my mother, so that became her job. And one day, and she liked this rabbiner very much, and she would show him her poetry. And one day when she was there showing him her poetry, the poet Simcha Bunim Shayevich was in the same place. And so the rabbiner showed my mother's poetry to Shayevich, who had been an established poet. He was in his mid-30s by then. And he got her to come to the meetings of the writers group in the ghetto. And that was a major event for her. So she became one of their youngest members, and they would read to each other. And it was really a kind of an escape from the misery around them, but also they took the literature very seriously. So they met originally at the home of Miriam Ullinover, and then later on at the home of, I'm blanking on his name, I think it was Lazarovich, the painter. And my mother went to those writers' circles all the time. I think it was what got her, helped her to survive the ghetto, and she was writing all the time. She wrote a lot of poems, and she became very close with Shayevich too.
Are those poems lost? Or?
Yeah. So when the ghetto was liquidated, and they were all sent to Auschwitz, she had the poems in her knapsack. And when they were disembarked on the platform in Auschwitz, the capos just came around and tore all personal belongings from people's hands. And so they tore her knapsack from her, and that was the end of the poems. But since she survived the selection, she was sent to a work camp at Zazel. And there she had the highest bunk. And so she started to recreate the poems, and she wrote them in pencil. She was lucky in having an overseer, a German overseer, who was rather sympathetic. And so she asked for a pencil. And with the pencil, she wrote in tiny letters, so it couldn't be seen, just over in the ceiling. She recreated her poems, and then she memorized them. So when, after the war, she wrote them down again, and that was her first book of poetry.